ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तां सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नम ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Happy to meet all of you. Today is a holy day of Ekadashi in the month of Kartik Maas. Very special. So on this day, of course, Bhagavad Gita is auspicious on every days. And today, it's all the more advised to absorb in spiritual topics. And we are very fortunate to read Srimad Bhagavad Gita. We have been discussing so far the second chapter. Up till 10th shloka we have completed, and 11th also we started last time. Before we start, I just want to mention one another point. Bhagavad Gita was spoken on the battlefield, and Lord spoke it with the clear purpose to inspire Arjuna to fight, and different levels of motivations to perform his duty of fighting was given by Lord Krishna, with various descriptions, explanations, resolving the doubts, many ways like that. After Lord Krishna departed from the material world, he became unmanifest. When Arjuna again fell into great feeling of separation, when he fell into the feeling of that separation, Srimad Bhagavatam describes that Arjuna remembered these words of Bhagavad Gita, which was spoken by Lord Krishna on the battlefield. And when Arjuna remembered those words, there he decided that he is not very separated from Lord Krishna, because he is remembering the words of Krishna. There is something called Vapu, another called as Vani. Vapu means association of a person in physical form. And Vani means association of a person by hearing and following the instructions of that person. May not be physically present in front. So that is Vani Seva. When Arjuna heard Bhagavad Gita in the battlefield, he was doing Vapu Seva. Vani also, but Lord was in front. He was having association of Lord physically. And when Arjuna remembered the Bhagavad Gita verses later, he in fact felt united with Lord, though Lord was not physically present. So these instructions of Lord, they are not only for Arjuna, they are for everyone, especially conditioned souls like us get an opportunity to associate with Lord when we read these instructions, when we try to discuss these instructions and follow these instructions in the footsteps of Acharyas. So Bhagavad Gita is not a book to be read only in the beginning phase of one's spiritual life, or it is at every stage. Just like Arjuna recollected the Bhagavad Gita verses much later also. In fact, these verses have to be have been read, reflected, and meditated and followed at all phases of life by great acharyas. So we are very fortunate to learn this Bhagavad Gita. So far we have come to the section where Lord Krishna has started speaking. He has taken up the role of Guru. We saw the very famous shloka where Arjuna, after quoting all the reasons of fighting for not fighting from Shastras, he now submits to Lord Krishna, telling, I don't know what is better for me. This is not a problem related to a circumstance. It is not a circumstantial problem. It is an existential problem. Can anyone explain what is the difference? Circumstantial problem and existential problem. Any of you have heard about it any time? So,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes. Dandavat Pranam.
Circumstantial is which is because of a certain circumstance at the given moment, event which is leading to some. So usually they call circumstantial evidence and existential evidence. So existential is something which is like perennial. It will always exist, whatever may be the age and circumstance. Yeah. Circumstantial is only then and there, and it will go away once the situation is resolved.
Thank you. Very well explained. So, as Mataji told, the problem which Arjuna faced was not because he was in a situation of fight with his cousins alone. That is one situation which is making him ponder over these facts. But there is much deeper problem of being in the material world itself. We read that the very famous purport of Srila Prabhupada in 2.7. I read that first statement, very nice. By nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step, there is perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master, who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. What it means is, in simple words, that our presence in this material world, which by nature puts us in confusion, in bewilderment, or in the words which here used is perplexity, dvandva, duvidha, and moha, all this, that itself is the problem. It's an existential problem. Prabhupada is telling that. And that is a sufficient impetus to go and take shelter of a bona fide guru, like Srila Prabhupada, and follow his instructions. That's the way out. We hear every day in the morning, samsara dava nalalidha loka. Is it not? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has told, this samsara is like davanala. Davanala means forest fire. Prabhupada uses that same analogy here. There is no one there in the forest to ignite, to use a matchstick or ignite by a matchstick. But the forest fire happens. That is the nature of samsara. Samsara dava nalalidha loka. Tranaya, to deliver a person from that, who is the source? Who is the one to take shelter of? Karunya ghana ghanatvam. So actually to deliver, only Lord Krishna can do that. And Lord Krishna is an ocean. Tranaya karunya gana ganakam praptasya kalyana gunarnavasya. Gunarnava is actually Lord Krishna. And from that ocean, this Guru, he is like a cloud who has taken that ocean water and he takes it to this forest where fire is happening. And he drops down that water in the form of the mercy rain, which is instructions, which is nothing but mercy of Lord Krishna. And to such a great personality, Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vindam. So this is the meditation. Our day starts with Gurvashtaka, and Bhagavad Gita is also impelling us to worship Guru, who is actually none other than representing Lord Krishna. So after hearing this, Lord Krishna gave a very strange response of a mild smile. We saw various meanings of it. And then he started calling out Arjuna's higher nature that we had seen earlier. Now he directly is coming to the fault in Arjuna's thinking. He's telling that you are not discerning what is living and what is dead. Gatasum, agatasumscha. You are not able to distinguish, and due to which you are anushochanti. You are lamenting. You are na panditaha. You are not a pandita. You are a murkha. Like that, Lord is directly telling. So from here starts the very first section of Lord's instruction, which we saw last time. What is it called? Any of you could just highlight that heading? What is this section of Lord's instructions called? 2.11 onwards. We saw it last time. Okay. It's called as Sankhya. It's called Sankhya. Means last time we saw this. Sankhya means that which analyzes the creation. In the existence around us, it analyzes. What it analyzes as, it sees what is this creation made up of. It is made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Lord Krishna has told 8 elements, which expand into 24 elements actually. So basically, it breaks down everything into these elements. Last time we saw this. Suppose I am very attracted by gulab jamun. And gulab jamun, I'm taking a very simple example, has some which is of earth element. Is it not? Some nice grain, milk item, all this. There is some liquid which is in it, which is water element, and they are mixed appropriately, and they are exposed to fire element, is it not? And that brings that color and taste and all, and then that is served out. So it is nothing but having earth, water, fire element, and maybe some more in the analysis. So by this, what is the goal of such analyzing? What is the goal of such analysis of elements?
To get disinterested in material world.
Yeah, very nice. Yes. So when we see things like this, then naturally one doesn't get attracted to those elements. So it is just a permutation and combination of these elements which presented in various attractive forms attracts one's mind. And that's where is the cause of attachment. So the purpose of such analysis is to develop disinterest. Now here, I would say this clearly in the beginning itself. The purpose of Lord presenting Sankhya philosophy, it is different. Arjuna has to fight. He should not develop disinterest and go to forest as a Vairagi. So we should know what is the context here. The universal principle of Sankhya is taken, is explained nicely, and later the prayojana is given by Lord himself. We will see that very nicely. This section is addressing one particular reason of Arjuna's not fighting. Which is that reason? Which is that reason?
Detachment with the family members and
family members.
I'm
killing my relatives, my grandfathers. That is the main attachment.
Yeah, the bodily, the compassion at the bodily level, which is making him not fight. Oh, I will be killing my grandfather, my teacher, my cousins, all of that, so and so. He had listed all the people who are there, is it not? Matula, Bhrata, all that. So that compassion has to be addressed, bodily compassion. For that, Lord is speaking this Sankhya, which is also called Gnana, for that. So he is basically telling, you are thinking that you are going to harm them, and that's why you are lamenting. But there is no reason to lament, because ultimately the soul, who is the actual self, is not destroyed, and the body, which will anyway be destroyed, is going to get destroyed. So Lord is clearly segregating and telling this universal principle of Sankhya, but for the prayojana of not lamenting for the death of his relatives and stopping the duty, is it not? So this is the prayojana. We should know very clearly what is the Lord using this philosophy for. So sometimes one principle could be used for multiple purposes. Just like I told, usually the Sankhya is told so that a person gets detached. This Sankhya, this also comes in Bhagavatam. Lord tells it in another instruction format to his one great devotee by name Uddhava. And there he tells it for the purpose of becoming detached, because Uddhava has already become very sad, and he also wants to withdraw himself from all activities. And the purpose there is Uddhava wants to detach from the world. But here Arjuna is detached. He is wanting to get detached. He wants to leave and go to forest. But see, now Krishna uses the same philosophy and makes him fight. Yeah. So it's very interesting how the prayojana is given. So we should keep this in mind. What is the purpose, the context of Bhagavad Gita? That is very important. And with this in view, now we will start the 12th shloka. Yeah, someone had any comment?
Prabhuji? Yes, Prabhuji. In that Bhagavatam, when it is coming Uddhava, but Uddhava is already aware that Krishna is a god and he is controller. So I did not understood what is the context over there.
Yeah. So it's not necessary that people have to forget to read this knowledge. It is a discussion about one thing is the devotees are reminding each other when the devotees talk about it, or they are relishing that tattva. They are discussing to understand and appreciate Lord Krishna more. And secondly, it is also an instruction to the world Lord is giving through that devotee. So both are possible. When Lord Krishna is instructing to Uddhava, he is instructing to the world also, just like he is doing for Arjuna. So Uddhava Gita, that's a very elaborate section. And also he is giving that reminder to Uddhava. Do not get lament for my disappearance, which is going to happen, because Lord Krishna is going to disappear. And that is when Uddhava Gita is spoken. So he is telling, do not get lament. In fact, you should also understand the nature of material world. Do not see materially, and absorb yourself more at transcendental platform. That's the main prayojana of Uddhava Gita. But here it is different. So we should know very clearly what's the purpose of instruction. Okay.
Understood the context and difference. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Now let us go to 12th shloka. Who will read today the translations?
I can read, Prabhu. If you are okay.
Yeah. One Mataji is telling yes. Just a minute. Yeah, I'm displaying the shlokas. Okay, Suma Mataji will read. Okay. I'm reciting the shloka. You can also recite. This is one of the very famous shlokas. In fact, I will ask 1-2 devotees to recite after I. Natvevaham jatunasam natvam neme janadhipa na shaiva na bhavishyama sarve vayamat param. Any 2 devotees, please recite.
Hare Krishna. Can I?
Okay, go ahead, Prabhu.
Tatva evaham zatunasam natvam neme janadhipa na chaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayam atah param.
Okay, Vanilla Mataji.
Natvevaham jatunasam natvam neme janadipa na chaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayam atah param.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Shravya Mataji, yes. Last.
Jatunasam natvam neme janadipa na chaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayam atah param.
Okay. Thank you. There are many other important shlokas coming. We will ask others also to recite that time. We will go ahead. Read translation, Mataji. Suma Mataji.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. So, translation. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be.
Very important verse. In fact, this is one of the key verses. This is also there in your shloka test, I hope. Natva eva aham jatu. Aham natu eva jatu aham. Means I don't think that I am born at a time. Nasam. Natvam neme janadhipa. Not you, tu, and not all these rajas. Janadhipa. Not that we cease to exist in bhavishya. Nacha eva bhavishya. Sarve vayam atah param. All the time we always exist. See, one interesting thing. Lord has not spoken who are we yet. But he says that we always stay as individuals. He has not yet started speaking about Atma. But he, in the very beginning, he says, we always exist. In past, we were existing. In present, we are existing. In future, also, we exist. And we exist individually. We are not merging into something. And the purport of this is very interesting. Srila Prabhupada, who is a Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarini, one who addressed this problem of impersonalism, voidism, which was very prevalent in West and of course whole world, is now taking that very strong stance, following the Acharyas, Ramanujacharya. So you all know that in the course of evolution of the Tattva, Shankaracharya, of course it happened from Buddha, who came and who made keep Vedas aside because there was misutilization of Vedas for harming animals, killing animals. Then Shankaracharya comes and he proposes this philosophy of Kaivalyavad, or basically Advaita, impersonalism, and Mayavad actually. And he brings Vedic authority, but he says that the supreme absolute truth is impersonal. Now here, the one Acharya who comes after Shankara is Ramanujacharya, very famous Acharya, very philosophically, he presents such amazing commentaries. Srila Prabhupada very much followed his commentary in Bhagavad Gita. Once when Sri Vaishnava came to Srila Prabhupada and told, your commentary is like Sri Ramanujacharya's commentary. What is so special? Then Srila Prabhupada, surprisingly, he told, thank you for the compliment. So Srila Prabhupada was proud that he was following his previous acharyas. That's the acharya, is it not? So he presents a lot of comments from Ramanujacharya's Bhashya on Bhagavad Gita here. In fact, that is followed by Baladev Vidyabhushan, which Prabhupada is inheriting. So let us see this purport. Very nice purport. I will highlight some interesting points here. So Prabhupada quotes the Upanishad statement. This description like this, how many times a na has come, you see here. Na tu evaham, na tvam, na ime, na chaiva, na bhavishyamaha. You know, na. Na means not, you know, negation. So this type of instruction is very famous in Upanishads. Do you remember some similar shloka in your earlier Bhakti Shastri study? Do you remember any such shloka in your, or any shloka in your Bhakti Shastri study? Yes, Prabhu? Lavish Prabhu, yeah? Om Purnamadaha, okay. You are close to that. Yeah. That also is a Upanishad statement. There is a verse which repeatedly says na.
Probably not in this context, Prabhu. Even I have heard one shloka in my school days. Nachora haryam, nachraja haryam, nabhra trivajam. Probably it's not related to this, but
yeah. So yeah, that is also explaining some neti process. So from saying like this.
From Sishtastakam, we have
Sishtastakam also says. Yes, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim. Yeah. Good. So there are many verses, of course. In Bhakti Shastri study, we have come across some verses where there is a defining of an object by negating from other objects. I always give this example that suppose if someone who has not seen strawberry in his life and he has to be told what is strawberry, then how do we explain to him strawberry? One way is to say it's very nice, succulent, soft, reddish fruit. Now that's good, very good. But another way to say is it is red, but it is not apple. It has so many dots on it. It is not, some sitafal or like. So like that, you say it is not apple, it's not tomato, it's not this, it's not that. So you are defining that object. You are not specifically telling about strawberry. That way of description is one way of defining. And that's a positive description. Like we say Lord Krishna. Who is Lord Krishna? One may say, hey, he is not a material person like I and you. He doesn't have veins. He doesn't have a body like us. He doesn't die. He doesn't take birth. See, this is one way of describing who is God. Another way to describe is to say Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam. Like Brahma Samhita describes. That's a positive description. So in Shastras, we hear two types of description of any object, negative and positive. And both are very important to understand. What is the object and what it is not. Both need to be very nicely understood. So here, the aspect that the Atma, gets destroyed at one point of time, becomes non-existent at one point of time, is refuted. For that, Lord Krishna is telling, never was a time when you did not exist, or I did not exist, or nor we will in future cease to exist. Means we always exist. That's the central point. We always exist across all phases of time. So Srila Prabhupada quotes, okay, Vanilla Mataji, you have a comment?
No problem.
Okay. In the Prabhupada, in the purport, he quotes Katha Upanishad and Shvetashvatara Upanishad's famous shloka. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman. Very famous. Prabhupada quoted it so many times. There are so many eternals. All are eternal actually, all jivas. But one of them is special. Nityaha Nityanam Chetanaha chetananam eko bahunam yo vidadhati. That one person who is also eternal, who is also conscious, but he fulfills all the rest of Jiva's desires. When one understands this, tam atmastham ye anupashyanti dhiraha. One who understands this, he is really a dhira. And what does he attain? Shashwati Shanti. He attains, perfect and eternal peace. And there is no other way. So one has to see this, that Lord is eternal. Eternal means he is individual. He is always existing. And he is conscious. And there is always individuality. Never is a time that we merge into something and we lose our individuality. This is a very dangerous understanding in the growth of one's consciousness. Why it is dangerous? Just see, if we are going to destroy our individuality, then how does it matter how I live now? Everything becomes very anartha. They say it actually mithya. Brahma Satya and Jagat Mithya. Mithya means false. So how does it matter whether I live morally or immorally? That famous, this thing is there. Shankara was going along with his disciples, Acharya Shankara. And at one place, he drinks liquor. All of them drink liquor, other Shishyas. Yes, Brahma Satya. Anyway, Brahma is the only Satya. Everything is Mithya. So let me drink liquor. So they drank liquor. And later, after going ahead, Shankara, he drinks a molten metal, I believe, to bewilder. And seeing that he's drinking the hot molten iron or metal, they become surprised. My God, this is something I cannot imitate. So earlier, they took it because it was very pleasurable for conditioned soul. But later it was very difficult. So it's an impractical philosophy to consider that anyway, everything is going to merge. So how does it matter how I live? No. If that was the case, why does Lord Krishna has to instruct Bhagavad Gita how to live? So Bhagavad Gita establishes individuality of living entities in the very beginning of its instruction. So Ramanujacharya has given very elaborate commentary to this shloka in his Bhashya. And Prabhupada explains some of that. So Prabhupada writes here. Suma Mataji, could you read this?
Yes, Prabhuji. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Individual Person. And Arjuna, the Lord's eternal associate, and all the kings assembled there are individual eternal persons. It is not that they did not exist as individuals in the past, and it is not that they will not remain eternal persons. Their individuality existed in the past, and their individuality will continue in the future without interruption. Therefore, there is no cause for lamentation for anyone.
So, individuality is eternal. We are eternal individuals. Who are we? It's not yet defined. And Lord Krishna, at first itself, he attacks this dangerous misunderstanding. He says we are individuals always. So now, there is one very famous accusation, interpretation of this shloka by Mayavadis, which Prabhupada says that some say this fact is explaining individuality at material level, or the individuality explained is conventional, something like vyavaharik, because we are living in this world, we have to tell, so we are individuals, we are here individuals, that's why it's explained like that. It is just material. Once we lose our material existence, we don't remain, individuals. So it is talking individuality at material level. Now for this, Prabhupada repeats very nicely. If we are, if the individuality mentioned is only for material body, and then first of all, the fact is Lord Krishna has just now rebuked Arjuna for thinking that not understanding the difference between what is matter and spirit. After rebuking or chastising Arjuna, why will Lord Krishna tell something on the material platform? It doesn't show a consistent thought, right? That's the first thing which Prabhupada explains. Second thing, now if Lord Krishna is speaking individuality at material level, then why will he say, I never was a time when I did not exist? Means he's telling that he is material. If Krishna is material entity, just like we are conditioned soul, so he is also conditioned soul, then it implies that Lord Krishna is conditioned soul. Then why do we need to hear from another conditioned soul? How does Krishna's superiority get established by this thought? How does Bhagavad Gita become a source of knowledge, a superior source of knowledge, when it is spoken by a conditioned soul? You're getting the thought what it is leading into. First thing is, when people say that this individuality is only on the body level, then already Krishna has told that it is foolish, O Arjuna, that you are not able to discriminate between matter and spirit. Second thing is that how could Bhagavad Gita have a special position if we consider Lord Krishna to be a conditioned soul? So these two are very famous arguments which Prabhupada presents here, which are explained in the purport very nicely. You could read it. And below, Prabhupada explains the approach of devotee and non-devotee towards Bhagavad Gita. See here, it's a very nice, from here. Could you read, Mataji, from here? As it is, let's read.
Yes, Prabhuji. The non-devotee's approach to the teachings of the Gita is something like that of a bee licking on a bottle of honey. One cannot have a taste of honey unless one opens the bottle. Similarly, the mysticism of the Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees, and no one else can taste it, as it is stated in the 4th chapter of the book.
So Lord Krishna clearly says in 4th chapter, it comes later in the 9th chapter also, that who can really understand this knowledge? One who is a bhakta, one who is a non-envious, anasuya, only that person. When people are telling this philosophy, why are they telling it? At the root, there is envy towards God. Actually, that's why Mayavada is nothing but envy towards Lord, his spiritual form, qualities, and attributes. And they want to just basically destroy it. They want to show that there is no existence of Lord. And for that, they are telling he doesn't have form, he doesn't have qualities like this. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told that Mayavad is nothing but atheism, which is covered. And he told one story for it. Once the king had a very famous, he had a parrot. That parrot was very dear to the king. And he used to every day ask, how is my parrot? How is it doing everything like that? Yes. And the parrot caretaker would every day come into the assembly and update. One day, the person who was taking care of parrot, he became very sorrowful, but he did not know how to express his sorrow to the king because the parrot had died. So what he did, he went and asked the minister, one of the minister, what should I do? I have to tell this news that parrot has died. Then that minister, he told, okay, I will answer this thing, question. So then the minister went along with the parrot caretaker. And the king asked, oh, today my minister also has come. Oh, minister, you might also have seen my parrot. How is my parrot? Oh, king, the parrot actually is not moving its wings. The parrot is not moving its legs. It's not moving its head. Like that, he kept telling. Right? It's not moving limbs. It's not moving its head. And at one point of time, it's not opening its eyes. It's not breathing. What does it mean? Has it died? And that I did not tell. You are telling. So basically, it is not showing any expression of life. So when Mayavadis say that Lord does not have form, Lord does not have these qualities, all this, they are actually meaning that there is no God. It is an atheism. So it's a very dangerous philosophy. So that's why Srila Prabhupada addresses this very a misunderstanding many times. Whenever the opportunity comes, he would express that. So let's go ahead. Any question or comment here?
One small question, Prabhuji, if you're okay, I'll ask.
Yes.
Okay. So, okay, when they are talking about like it is in between, God is there, God is not there, something like that. So according to them, everything is given by, controlled by that light, that Brahma Jyoti or something like that. Correct? This universe is controlled by that, according to Adi Shankara philosophy.
Yeah, see, the Shankaracharya's main purpose, the external purpose of it was that he wanted to establish Vedic authority. That was his main purpose, and he did that. Buddhists were telling, oh, we only, we don't accept all these regulations. Our main goal is just non-violence, all that. And Shankaracharya showed those teachings in the Vedas, and he told you, follow me. I'm explaining Vedas. At the same time, Buddhists were not having any explanation for who is Supreme. And Shankaracharya told an explanation of Supreme, which also meant a very similar Buddhist explanation. Buddhism tells Shunya, and Shankaracharya says, there is no form. It's not much different. Prabhupada also says this, Mayavadam Asat Shastram.
So Shunya is almost close to no form.
Shunya means nothing, void.
Nothing. So it is no form only.
Yes. So that was the external purpose of Shankaracharya. Internal purpose also was that he wanted to segregate these envious people from the devotees who are faithful people. And for that, he made a class of philosophy. And naturally, they got segregated. Those who had an impersonalistic inclinations, were envious, who were all whatever it is, they were put under this fold of impersonalism. But they were under Vedic authority. So in future, if they read Vedas properly under an Acharya, there is a possibility that they come to the right conclusion. So that was Shankara's internal purpose. He wanted to segregate the different classes of Vedic followers, or in general, people. That's the intent. Is it clear?
Yes, but he said like Brahman is the God. Brahman.
Yes,
yes. Kind of
Lord, like... Correct. That's one aspect of Supreme, that the Lord's control, Lord's influence is present everywhere. We hear that famous example of the light and a heat from a lamp, is it not? Fire. So Lord is existing, is all pervading. That is true. There is nothing contrary in that, but there is higher explanation to it. Where is that coming from? We don't say that itself is supreme, and we don't defy or reject the form of Lord. So that is what Mayavada is. Brahmavada is to accept that yes, this is Lord's effulgence, very supreme form of the Lord. I may not have attraction to that form, because I'm not so much disposed to that form, but I am following this level of philosophy of worshipping the impersonal absolute. You might have remembered your Ishopanishad discussions. So that is Brahmavad. That is different from Mayavad. Okay. So here Lord is all pervading. His control is everywhere in the form of impersonal absolute. That is the... Okay. Yes, Praveen, you have a question?
Yes, Hare Krishna Dandavatana. Prabhuji, if Shankaracharya taught Mayavada philosophy, why are so many Shankaracharya followers worship Shiva? Is as a as a person, right? There's a lot of Smartas, for example, right? We all
Shankaracharya gave Panchopasana. So you will see Shankara's philosopher followers worshipping 5 forms. This comes in Teachings of Lord Chaitanya book. Vishnu also they worship. Shakti they worship.
They say Panchaitanam. They have
keep one thing in center. Yeah. Whatever
Shiva,
they like. Ganesha.
Shiva is also one of the primarily things. And Shankaracharya is an avatar of Shiva. That's also there. So there is Pancha Upasana, which is elaborated by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Chaitanya Shikshamrita and many other books. There he explains this whole philosophy. What is this? Where is it coming from? What's the flaw? All that. So yes, they worship many different demigods, but underlying, understanding is impersonalism. If we go and little scratch any so-called pious person, this is the deep-rooted philosophy, is it not? That's the case.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
So finally, we are souls. Okay, go ahead, Prabhuji. Okay.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, I had a question then. So, who is the God for Buddhists then?
For Buddhists, because they follow Buddha, actually they say, you don't worry who is supreme. We don't discuss. Let's not discuss that. Let us focus on, they call Kaivalya, or Nirvana. That's their famous word. But interestingly, they are following Lord Vishnu, who is Buddha. So it's a trick. In the famous shloka by Jayadev Goswami, it says that he tricked them. So because there was so much Pashughata which was happening, so he cheated them. He indirectly made them to follow him only. So they have a scope that if they follow his teachings, they have a scope that they will come in association with proper Vedic follower or a devotee. That's like that. But just following Buddhism in itself will not help in spiritual liberation. One has to have proper understanding of the tattva.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah.
Shankaracharya, he told there is no Jiva and Paramatma, they are same. Aham Brahmasmi, he told that one. That's what they say. How is it? That is Advaita. Advaita philosophy he followed.
Correct.
Whereas Madhvacharya followed Advaita.
Correct. Okay.
Jiva
I think we're going.
Different.
Systems of philosophy. Okay, let me just have a discussion and then we'll take it ahead. So the point is, as we were just saying, that Buddha, he introduced, they call it Vedana Mania Bauddha Haila Nastik, Chaitanya Charitamrita says. So Buddha, or the followers of Buddha, they don't accept Veda. That's why they are called Nastik. But the followers of Shankara, they accept Vedas. Yet they are Nastik because they describe Lord as one who doesn't have form. And they, in fact, defy Lord's form, all that. And they say, Lord, when he comes to this world, he's a condition. He's also having a material form, all that. Now, Shankara's philosophy was Advaita. He interpreted Vedic texts for this philosophy. Aham Brahmasmi is not his teaching. It is there as a Vedic teaching. It comes even in the Vedanta Sutra also. Athato Brahma Jignasa, Aham Brahmasmi, Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma. There are 5 Mahavakyas, they call it, in the Shankara's philosophy. Tattvamasi, Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma, like this. So what he did, you all know Achintya, Bheda, Abheda, Tattva. Was there a discussion about it in earlier classes?
Just know what it means, but not a deeper discussion.
That Lord is like an ocean and we are like a drop of sea.
Simultaneously, one
and different. Same in quality, but not same in quantity.
Correct. Very good. Yes. So there is bheda, that is difference, and there is abheda, that is similarity. This is actually very interesting, this philosophy. Actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this idea, which was very deep hidden in the Vedic texts. Achintya, it is achintya. It's where though we discuss about it, something remains out beyond our intelligence when we discuss this. So it's bheda and abheda are simultaneously existing. Say suppose I say here is one laptop, here is one gadget. I can say they are bheda. So it's always bheda. It's very clear, is it not? But now when I say how could they be together or similar? They are simultaneously similar and different. This is not understood in material level, but at spiritual level, just now as one of you gave the example, in the level of qualities, there is abheda. The jiva is Sat Chit Ananda, and Supreme Lord is Sat Chit Ananda. Supreme Lord has innumerable qualities, out of which 64 are prime. And jiva can also reflect, because it is coming from Supreme Lord only, those qualities. Not fully, it can exhibit up to 50. Or Prabhupada says 78% or so. So jiva can exhibit the qualities of Lord in minute form, but it is very limited, very, very limited. So jiva also is eternal, jiva also is abhikari. Many explanations come in this section itself, which we are going to study. So in the Shastras, there are vakyas which tell about difference of jiva and Supreme, Paramasatya. Let us call only Paramasatya, because the form of Lord will be established after this. So the difference between Atma and Parama Atma, that difference is called Bheda. Okay, and there are statements in Shastras called Bheda Vakyas. Very clear statements are there in Shastras. And there are statements in Shastras which tell both are similar, both are same, and they are discussing about qualitative oneness. That is Abheda Vakya. So there is Bheda Vakya and Abheda Vakya. Both are there in Shastras. Okay, so when we see some Abheda Vakya, say suppose Aham Brahmasmi, and this is one interesting Abheda Vakya, where it's tell, I am that Brahman. I am that Brahman. Brahman means spiritual, Now here, this does not, Prabhupada always explains this in a qualitative sense. We are spiritual beings, but we are never equal in quantity with the Lord. This is the explanation Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave, that example of salt in the drop of ocean and in the ocean as a whole. So, Bheda Vakya and Abheda Vakya. What Shankaracharya did, interestingly, he highlighted these Abheda Vakyas and he presented it such that the jiva is equal with Lord. So what Madhvacharya came and showed, he showed these Bheda Vakyas. He showed very clear difference. Just see here, clear difference. You don't accept only one part of the Shastra, see it fully. And then he presented Dvaita. In fact, he shows also like this, Dvaita, Madhva. So he, in middle, Vishishta Advaita came, Ramanujacharya, who wanted the Shankara's followers to accept his philosophy. He told, okay, there is similarity between Jiva and the Lord, but it is very special, Vishishta Advaita. And he told that Vishishta is in the, he lists a lot of Vaishishtya, he lists a lot of specialities of similarity. There are many such discussions. I'll not go much into it, nor am I fully learned in it also. So the point is, there is a progression in the philosophy. We should note this. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains it. And after Madhvacharya, then two, three more philosophers came, Nimbarka. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he came and presented this Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva, that was the quintessential. That was the ultimate explanation. And this is elaborated by our acharyas very nicely, by like Jiva Goswami in his Sandarbhas and all. And Srila Prabhupada explains that in very simple, very profound manner in these texts. So when we come across such impersonalistic explanations, we should understand the similarity between Jiva and Lord is only in quality. It can never be in quantity. Just like here Prabhupada is telling. If it was the case, then what is the point in hearing instruction? How did we fall into Maya? First case. And second case is, why are the instructions given? That means we have to follow, is it not? So there are so many flaws in that philosophy. It is good to understand our Vaishnava philosophy by these purports very well. So Srila Prabhupada tells two statements, I just now repeated, as a refutation for such impersonalistic explanation. So one is that Lord Krishna already refuted the false understanding of body and soul as one, not discriminating between body and soul. Second is, if Lord Krishna is conditioned soul like us, then how could his speech or his talk as Bhagavad Gita become a superior source of knowledge? It is a superior source of knowledge because it is from a superior person. He is not conditioned soul like I and you. So one has to accept Lord Krishna's superiority, his spiritual position, and that's why he is learning Bhagavad Gita. We are not learning some novel or like that, someone's talk. So these two are very profound explanations we should understand. Prabhupada explains this in purport, and he says that when people explain this, they are actually telling it out of envy, like the licking of the bottle of honey, like that. Is that okay? I just concluded with our purport here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Aham Brahmasmi is a Vedic statement, Mataji. It's not from Shankara's teaching. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now there is one more shloka coming, which is Srila Prabhupada's most quoted shloka. Srila Prabhupada, even in festival lectures like Radhashtami, you will hear him speaking this shloka. What is that? Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namohyati. We'll take the discussion in the next session, but I will just tell 2 words about this and close here. This shloka is telling a very basic understanding of who are we. But this is such an important understanding for any spiritual practice, that we are not this body, we are spiritual. And Prabhupada told this is first thing which one should understand. And after that, we will discuss further more things. And he explained this even in the festival lectures, in his morning walks, in his lectures, many, many places. How is that we are different from this body? And that and all Prabhupada will tell in the purport. We will see it tomorrow. So in summary, today we saw the first shloka, which Lord starts telling in the Sankhya, that is, individuality is eternal. We are eternally individuals. We always exist in past, present, and future. So we remain individuals always. So that's the first shloka which we saw. We'll see future shlokas. Hopefully Lord permits to complete it in our stipulated time. Thank you very much. I pause here for today because there is some important meeting for other devotees. We will cover up this time in one of the classes in this week. Okay?
Yes, Prabhu, it will start Friday.
Yeah. Prabhuji, you can ask Prabhu, Leelanand Prabhu to message me which day could be extended.
Agree, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Dandat pranam.
Thank you
very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Yes. Krishna.